Is the OnePlus 7 Pro worth it in 2020? A year after it's been released, especially with the follow-up of the OnePlus 8 Pro out, how has the OnePlus 7 Pro held up? Is it worth picking up in 2020? Well, let me give you my experience review of the OnePlus 7 Pro, and for the year that it's been out until now, what are my thoughts on it? Again, Ben from Lover of Tech. This is my experience review of the OnePlus 7 Pro. Let's dive straight in and let's go on to what really made the OnePlus 7 Pro such a wow factor phone last year May when it first was announced and came out, and it's the front display. It's nothing but screen. That's the best way I can describe this phone. Generally speaking, when I first saw it, it's something that still blew my mind, and it still blows my mind except for one nitpicky caveat, which I'm going to get to. Again, this is a 6.67 inch display. It's quad high definition plus. It's an AMOLED display, and on top of that, 90 Hertz. This was the first phone of its kind to incorporate all of those things put in together, and it was able to do this more because of the selfie pop-up mechanism that was on there. But the display itself is literally the masterpiece. Arguably, in my experience, it was the best display that you can get on any smartphone as of last year. And in some cases, I actually think in 2020, it still holds the crown to a certain extent, except for one thing, and that's a nitpicky thing. And again, you probably guessed it, the curved display. And again, hey, it's a preference thing. The curved display is not really a problem. Aesthetically, it does look great. Functionally, I just wish I had a flat display, that's all. But everything apart from that gravitates me to the screen. When I'm using any of my favorite apps, especially when I'm watching content, I'm on YouTube all the time. I'm watching a lot of videos from YouTube, Disney Plus, Netflix, name it. This screen draws me in. The immersiveness of it is something that honestly I can drown on and drown on and drown on. Yes, in most cases, I do wish that the display was ever so slightly brighter, but I never felt like I couldn't use it outdoors in extreme lighting situations. But overall, without going on too much about the display on the 7 Pro, this is the best of the best. No hole punch, no notch, no big bezels, everything is all screen, nothing but screen, and that's what made it great. And especially with the 90 Hertz as well, having to do that and high resolution with AMOLED at the same time, what more could you ask for? Apart from the flat display not being there, this is the best display of 2019 on a smartphone. Let's get on to actually the build of the phone, and the best way I could describe it is substantial. Yes, like the big screen, the big footprint, the weight. And the great thing at least about the weight and the build is that it's heavy and also well distributed. So it doesn't feel out of balance holding it. And you can tell that because obviously of the pop-up mechanism and how the structure of the phone is with all screen, they had to really enforce it so you can feel it in your hand. That's a give and take based on if you're someone that can handle the weight and it doesn't feel that fatiguing, but also in a sense, it gives that sense of it's a premium phone. You know this is a quality build phone, and they kind of had to reinforce it to make sure that the durability really stood the test of time. And I can testify that I've dropped this phone many times, yes, in a case, but it survived some drops that I didn't think it was going to be able to survive. So I give credit, the build quality is outstanding on this phone. From the glass to metal, everything about this phone really does scream premium. Now the performance and also the battery life. Let's start with the performance. And again, this is an area that OnePlus just shines and doesn't miss a beat. Again, on the latest software update with Android 10, internally the specs is what you expected to get from the latest chipset at the time, which was the Snapdragon 855, 8GB of RAM, 256GB of storage, or you had a 6GB RAM and 128. But again, with the special edition ones that came with the 7T Pro, you can really see that the performance on here was no slouch, right? The performance was something that was never an issue, and it's all thanks to not just the hardware. Again, we know it, Oxygen OS, where it's been touted and given the accolade of being one of the best versions of Android. Given that stock Android experience, but again, giving you that little bit of customization without intrusiveness that you get with Oxygen OS on Android. And again, I've mentioned it with my OnePlus 7T review, but some of the key things that I really liked about Oxygen OS definitely has to be things like the dual SIM activation. Those are the apps that work in parallels, those things really stick to me in how I use it day to day, right? And also just little things like being able to add seconds to your clock. I know, doesn't really matter too much, but I'm a stickler for time, and knowing every second of how the time goes and being able to give in that feature is something I really like about the small things: icon management, fanatic mode, Zen mode. Again, Oxygen OS deserves its own video, but performance is nothing shy of amazing, even till now, where I'll be very honest with you, you're not going to notice much of a difference versus the 2020 flagship phones, and in some cases probably beats certain 2020 flagship phones. Battery life. What's the best way I can describe it? I would say battery life is just made it into okay, which kind of makes sense for the capacity being 4,000 milliamps. And again, 4,000 milliamps at the time of 2019 seemed large, but for the fact that this was pushing the boundaries in a very large all-screen display, being AMOLED, high resolution, and adding 90 Hertz, and the peak brightness of 800 nits as well. Yeah, the battery life was just about okay. So not that it couldn't last a day and you couldn't manage it, but it wasn't anything spectacular with the specs of the screen and internals. And again, what always makes up for it for OnePlus is Warp Charge 30, where you're able to really top up very quickly to full battery from dead zero, somewhere around an hour, 15 minutes, give or take. It's a great experience that really makes up for it, but there is no wireless charging. At the time, I think this was something where it's the peak of what OnePlus could get away with without offering wireless charging as an ultra premium pro device, especially for the price that it started at $649 in the UK, and also going all the way up to $699 and $799 if you went for the 12 gigabytes, 256 gigabyte model. Let's touch on the camera. The camera was something that I felt OnePlus really wanted to push, and they had a bit of issues when it came to some controversy around the optical zoom. That was clarified, and the zoom performance with optical image stabilization with the final output at 8 megapixels, although it is a 12 megapixel sensor, is something that really did give good results with less shake. The main 48 megapixel camera, this was where it was first introduced with the IMX586 with pixel binning at 48 megapixels, and also the 16 megapixel ultra wide camera. And again, at the price point, even though OnePlus were placing this as an ultra premium device, the camera initially had a bit of a mixed reception until you realize that, again, the power of Oxygen OS and the performance and the software support that you get from OnePlus, the camera instantly transformed over the months throughout the year. And it was a completely different story, where I feel like this is sometimes something that is overlooked, how much OnePlus improved their camera over time. Again, like I always say, if you wanted anything extravagant like 4K video recording with 4K stabilization across all the lenses, there are odd nuances and quirks that you would get with the camera UI, the camera performance on the Pro device. And it's kind of, you know, par for the course when it comes to some of the corners cut. But overall, I'd say the camera is okay. Again, nothing too spectacular, but I always say it always gives me the results that I need without never feeling like, hey, I need so much more, where I know I'm going to be spending double or more than double against the competition. My final thoughts on the OnePlus 7 Pro, especially in 2020, is that yes, it is worth getting. Honestly, look for the 8 gigabytes, 256 gigabyte model. Yes, you can't buy it necessarily from OnePlus directly anymore unless you go for the 7T Pro, but I would say if you can get it used in good condition, it's worth getting. Some of obviously the availability of where you can get it in your carrier stores may vary based on your region and country. So again, have a look. But I would say if you can get it at a good price, and you can actually get it cheaper in some cases than the 7T 128 gigabyte base model, I think in some cases it might still be worth getting. And again, the performance and the support that you get on here is something that's really good. I feel the 7 Pro in this current climate was the peak of what OnePlus could do and get away with in terms of reach, accessibility, price point to performance, before things tipped over into where things are with the 8 Pro. I don't think it would actually miss out much if you went back, and in some cases, I feel like the display experience being all screen, nothing but screen, kind of incentivizes me to lean more onto the 7 Pro and not really worry too much about the 8 Pro, and that says a lot. Again, there's so much more you can always go into these devices, but what I wanted to do was give you my experience review. Again, Ben from Lover of Tech. You know what to do. If you enjoyed this video, you enjoyed this review, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, make sure you hit the notification bell so you don't miss future videos that come on the Lover of Tech channel. And again, I'm gonna be signing out. Hope you guys are good and you're staying safe. Catch you on the next one. Peace.